These are quite possibly the nicest Pacific Northwest boots I've ever tried. Now, before we get into it, this video would not be possible without the support of Baker's Shoes. Baker's Shoes, I've actually been doing business with them for a while. That's where I got my White's Bounty Hunters. They do a lot of really cool collaborations from time to time. Really knowledgeable people over there. I've called up before and used their customer service. It's top notch, so if you have to go and check out some new boots, the best place to start, in my opinion, is Baker's. Fantastic. But real quick, I want to thank recent subscribers, Mark Furman, Matthew Carey, and Salty Highlights. Thank you so much for your support. Wesco was started in 1918 by John Henry Shoemaker. No, I'm serious. Originally, Wesco, or the West Coast Shoe Company, made heavy-duty timber boots with spikes on the bottom for approximately $18 a pair. And in the 1930s, they introduced new models, the Highliner, the Boss Boot, and the Jobmaster, each to handle specific tasks. Later, Wesco boots would appear in pop culture, like in movies Terminator, The Aviator, and Ghost Rider. In the current day, Wesco offers a ton of different styles, with some of my favorites being the Mr. Lou and the 100th anniversary lace-to-toe or semi-lace-to-toe Jobmaster with the T-core leather, that green sole. The model I have here is the semi-lace-to-toe 10-inch Jobmaster with a few customizations. The contrast heavy-duty upper stitching, and eagle-eyed viewers will notice that although these aren't steel-toed, they do feature the slightly more exaggerated vamp of the steel toe model. This is the kind of customization that you can do with custom Jobmasters. The customization options are so extensive that often they'll look like entirely different boot models. From double midsoles to contrasting leather to thread, I mean, you could go nuts if that's your thing. Wesco uses the same 155-step bootmaking process that they've used since the early days. Still made in Scappoose, Oregon, USA. For mine though, I wanted something that I could use for work and play. So black leather and brown edge dressing seemed like a good combo. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos on other PNW boots, these Wescos have what you would expect from a top tier work boot. Double row stitch down construction, Vibram 100 lug sole, solid brass eyelets and speed hooks, a fully gusseted tongue, and 7-ounce full grain oil tanned leather upper. They do arrive with kilties, but I think these look best showing off that really cool contrast stitching instead. Inside you'll find a pour-on insole, which is removable, leather lining, leather midsole, and a ribbed steel shank. A few things to note about the Wesco boot formula. Their work boot leather is from Seidel, which is the tannery that supplies most Pacific Northwest bootmakers, but while other companies typically specify 7 to 8 ounce leather, Wesco sticks to 7-ounce in their description. Now, to be fair, if I had a piece of 7-ounce leather and a piece of 8-ounce leather in each hand, I definitely wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The difference in thickness is merely 1/64th of an inch from 7 to 8-ounce leather, so I wouldn't say that these boots are any less tough than any other PNW boots, just a different approach to the same goal. The 7-ounce leather may account for the easier break-in though, and these seemed like they were tamed a lot easier. It was only a week or so before they were truly comfortable. The other boots that I've had, it's taken months. And the other difference is that the Jobmaster uses a steel shank rather than the layered oak tanned leather that some other PNW boot brands use. And this may also add to the break-in period being easier, and honestly, it's up for debate which shank is better for which application. The Jobmaster's intended application is right in its name, a boot made to tackle a variety of jobs. Where the Highliner is built specifically with climbing in mind, the Jobmaster is much more of a jack of all trades, being able to handle almost anything you could throw at it. And this also makes it a great boot to wear casually, since you're not dealing with unnecessary slabs of leather stitched to your boot. Now, one thing that just really drives me nuts is when somebody stitches something like a lineman patch to the side of a boot. What are you doing if you're not actually using that lineman patch for its intended purpose, other than making your boot less flexible and less comfortable? Those are the kind of affectations that I really don't like, but that's my mileage. In casual wear, these have been great. After about a week of break-in, I could easily stand in them all day, and I found that these have gotten more compliments than I expected. Sometimes wearing heavy-duty work boots have the sort of ski boot effect of feeling disconnected from the surface that you're walking on. The Jobmasters certainly have a bit of that, but I get more feedback from the terrain than in my Builder Pros or my white smoke jumper boots. The sizing runs a bit large on these, so Wesco recommends sizing down about a half size from your Brannick measurement to a full size depending, and I found that to be true with mine, and these do fit very nicely, even with thick boot socks on. Quite honestly, I feel really bad thrashing on these boots, they're so nice looking. I found that I'll change into another pair when it comes time to do some actual work. Even though I'm confident that these can handle it, they're just too nice and I want to keep them that way. This isn't at all what I expected. I thought that these would go into the work boot rotation and be part of my Pacific Northwest boot trifecta. But instead, I find myself reserving them for less abusive wear. It's almost like buying a Lariat or an LTZ pickup. It can do the work, but sometimes it feels too nice to get it dirty. Now that being said, of course, at some point I will be using these for work. I think when the novelty wears off and they just become more familiar and maybe a little bit more beat up, then I'll actually put them to work. But for right now, I want to keep them nice. Now, one of the cool things about Wesco, because I personally care about this, and I know a lot of you do too, is that they're still a family-owned company, relatively small, and they've been doing business up there in Oregon for over 100 years. So it's not like they're bought by some giant conglomerate who's sort of telling them what to do and churning out subpar boots. They're still doing what they do to the level that they've been doing it for over 100 years, which is really, really cool. And with their relationship with Bakers and Wesco have been doing business together for over 3 generations, which is just crazy, especially in this day and age. That kind of thing matters to me, and I bet it matters to you too. The price for a standard Jobmaster is $429, which is only about $100 more than a typical Red Wing, and you're getting a whole lot more boot. Now, let's also compare it to a similar boot from White's, the 350 Cutter, which goes for $589. Now, for my money, the Jobmaster is a no-brainer. Now, keep in mind, the price can climb substantially when you start really throwing the customization options at them, but you'll likely still be well underneath the White's price. Finally, the wait time for these is about 7 to 8 months. Right now, in the current climate, we're experiencing a huge supply chain shortage. There are ships that are waiting to be unloaded. There's just issues across all industries. So just keep in mind that good things are worth waiting for. You put your order in now, and it should take about 8 months. I ordered these, I think, back in March or something like that, and I got them about 7 months later. So that does speak to this same thing. So just keep that in mind. Good things are worth waiting for. You may not be able to get these right when you order them. Overall, I gotta tell you, I have about a half dozen other Pacific Northwest boots from Nick's and White's. And I gotta say, Wesco fits up here in that group. It does seem like they really concentrate a lot more on the finishing, on the quality control, at least with this pair. Now, again, it's 1 versus about 3 of the other brands, so this is kind of just a one-off kind of thing. But I've heard that from other people as well, that the Wesco finishing is sort of a notch above the others. These definitely point to that. There's no excess grinding, there's no excess glue anywhere. And if you're going to use them for work, then really who cares, right? I mean, the way I look at it, I was going to get that boot dirty anyway, so who cares? But these boots, when they arrived, like I mentioned, just seem so nice that I'm going to wear them casually for a while until they get broken in, and then maybe I'm going to put them to work. But these really do speak to the benefit that you get from cheap versus expensive work boots. The expensive work boots are worth it all day long. And I say this as somebody who wore Brahmas and Herman Survivors and Timberlands and stuff like that my entire life until I got a pair of Nick's, and it really did, it just blew me away. Matter of fact, if you haven't seen that video on cheap versus expensive work boots, go ahead and click right here because I'm proud of it and I think you may get something out of it too. Anyway, guys, that's the Wesco Jobmaster. I am really impressed. And I gotta tell you this much, this will not be my last pair of Wescos. Just seeing what I see here, I've always wanted a pair of Mr. Lou's. I like the Boss boot too. I don't see this being my last pair of Wescos at all. And if I could find one of those 100th anniversary semi-lace to toe Jobmasters in my size, I'm gonna jump on it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Always interested to hear what you think in the comments section. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you later.